part two of the nuts things that were done to me. So we're at the part where I get adopted. So, what's nuts, my mother brings me into the med room, gives me, or I should say med hallway or wherever the meds were. She gives me meds right before getting in the car to go to some building, and they tell me, well, my mother tells me that this is something to do with the adoption, and I gotta go. Okay, so she gives me the pills and I get in the car. The pills start kicking in the car, and I start getting so tired I fall asleep in the car. But that's normal for a kid to fall asleep, but the level of drowsiness that wasn't wearing off, the cloud that was over me, was wicked heavy, almost like a Percocet or a Thorazine, something like that. A very high dose of Percocet or Thorazine in a 6-year-old or a 5-year-old. Anyways, so I'm pretty much unresponsive, but we get there. My mother shakes me awake, says, we're here, wake up, get moving. And she kind of like drags me, and I'm going really slow. I get into this small, very, very small place with benches and like a judge. It's set up like for a court, kind of, but it's so small it doesn't seem like a courthouse, but it does have the wooden benches. And I get sat down on the wooden bench. They start talking. We're waiting though. We got to wait for things to start. So we're just waiting on the wooden bench. Now I am so fucked up on these pills my mother gave me. I just passed the fuck out. And I don't remember nothing because I was asleep during the whole thing. The whole thing. They woke me up one time to like say yes or something. And that's it. Oh, say yes. Oh, yes. And then I just passed back out on the wooden bench. Now, after it's all over, everybody's emptied out. My mother's trying to wake me up, and she tells me it's time to go in the car to go to a birthday party, but it's called an adoption party. Okay, so I can't really move or get up off the bench. She sees this because she remembers she just gave me pills. At first, she's getting mad at me that I'm all drowsy on the pills she just gave me. But then she remembers, oh shit, yeah, that's right, I drugged him before coming here. So then she carries me, and Slash tries to have me walk. She carries me at first, but I'm too heavy, so she has me walk the rest of the way, which I'm barely able to walk because I'm drowsy, tired, completely out of it. Now we get to the car, and it's completely nuts what she's doing to me, and I pass the fuck out in the car. We get to the adoption party, and as people hand me gifts, they go, why do you look so sad? Why do you look depressed? Why do you look sad? This is a good time. Aren't you happy to be joining our family? Of course I was happy to be joining our family. I'm not depressed. I wasn't sad. I was on pills. I was given pills. The pills kicked in. I was looking on the ground for a place to curl up and sleep. I literally remember looking for a place to sleep during my party. This was a party held for me, and all I want to do is fall asleep on the floor. Why? My mother gave me downers, putting me out like a light. Probably because she thought I was going to say something about what she was doing to me during the court case. So she made sure to shut me up good. Okay, this is completely nuts that my mother did this. This makes her completely crazy. My mother was a lunatic hurting a child like that and doing damage to my body. Okay, what's nuts next? Oh, then I get adopted. Then I go into the Lego box and I see a swimming medal that I won in the orphanage. So I decide, oh, my mother will love that I won this. So I walk up to my mother, and my father's right next to him. I go, look at the swimming medal I won. At this point, my mother comes over, grabs the medal, says, no, I'm keeping this. You're a liar. You're a thief. Not only that, this must be an African American's medal. Then she says that I must have attachment disorder because my last name is on it. She says to everybody, I must be going around putting my last name on everything. This must be some mental illness I have, she says. I must be writing my last name initials on everything. But no, I didn't ever write my old name initials on anything after my name was changed. That medal was won in an orphanage when my name started with ZG. Then I got adopted and my name became ZN. She made up a fantasy in her head, and to make it fit for herself, she kept on having to make more and more fantasies up. She would make one fantasy that didn't fit, then she would make another fantasy that didn't fit, then she'd make another fantasy to make it all fit. Just a bunch of fantasies all around it. What's the truth? I won a swimming medal. What's the nuts part about it? My mother thought that meant that I had attachment disorder, I'm a liar, I have kleptomania, I'm a thief, I like to steal, I lie, I can't tell the truth. And on top of this, she was seeking doctor help because I won a swimming medal. She's going around telling doctors I have attachment disorder because I try to show her a swimming medal. Do you know how fucked up that is? Wicked. She's completely nuts. On top of this, let's go to the next one. Then she gives me an overdose. She literally hands me pills and I OD. I lose my vision. I lose the ability to use my nervous system. And then when I wake up, there's permanent damage to my brain and nervous system. When doctors and teachers start realizing this, my mother acts more nuts. She starts covering it up, lying about it. She was completely nuts. On top of this, my father's allowing this behavior, sitting right there, acting complicit in it, just woo whistling in his brain. I swear there's just a hamster going round and round while his wives are just doing terrible things. I mean, he's awake for the rest of the world, but when his wives are acting unstable and hurting people, he just is in space. It's like he wanders off once when his wife get out of control. His wife is drinking alcohol with her liver failing, about to die. Just wander into the kitchen and turn your back and let this go into Wonderland. I mean, I would be over there going, hey, no, I want you to live. You are my wife. You are in the hospital for liver failure with 20% of your liver working, and you think you can come home to drink a martini? What is wrong with you? You said you were coming home to see the family. Is your family in that liquor cabinet? That's how I would be talking to my wife if she was. I care about her. I have long-term loyalty to her. I would never allow my wife to kill herself in front of me. No way. But my father, keep in mind, would just go into Wonderland when my mother was doing these awful things. So what else are crazy stuff? What other people are nuts that are causing me to die today? Why I have to suffer so much today? Okay, well, don't forget about the nuts Department of Health and Human Services. So my mother the teachers start looking into this. So my mother acts more nuts. They move me to New Texas. My mother brings me into a room, convinces me to say yes. I say, yes, I want to move to Texas. No, I don't want to move to Texas. Yes, I want to move to Texas. No, I don't. I don't know. I don't know. Well, my mother always gets what she wants. No matter which way I voted, we would have been going to Texas. And it doesn't matter because my mother would be able to manipulate me anyways. She was drugging me and manipulating me, and I was only 5 years, 6 years old, something like that, maybe 7. So it's not hard for my mother to manipulate me. I mean, I was playing with matches and she got me to repeat something about the house or burning the house down or something. I mean, it was obvious that all I was doing was playing with the matches. I couldn't even get them lit. I didn't have thought processes like that when I was 4 or 5 years old. But my mother did. She liked to try to push a mental illness. She loved it. She loved turning swimming medals into fucking her fantasies. I mean, I won a swimming medal. That's it. Simple. But she was nuts. She was completely off the rails and she got doctors to feed into it. So anyways, I'm getting moved to Texas. She acts a little nuts up there. She does some nuts things up there. She moves me to New Mexico. It goes completely nuts. We got staff choking children. Completely nuts. We got staff members not wanting to report that the refrigerator broke. So they're feeding rotten milk that's chunky, rotten meat, rotten eggs, just rotten things that make kids literally food poisoned. I was out for a week. That was the worst one. I got food poisoning 3 times. 2 times I was out for a couple hours or just a day, but one time it was so severe that 5 kids definitely needed to be hospitalized, but instead they just put us in our beds, kept on bringing us apple juice for about 5 days or so. Meanwhile, one of the staff members was on nurse duty. They're not even nurses. These are literally people with no training. They're up in the mountains. This is a cabin up in the mountains away from all civilization. Think about hours to the nearest real grocery store. Hours and hours and hours to get to a real grocery store. There's a convenience store about 30, 40 minutes away that we used to use just to get a couple things. A little convenience store. Okay, so completely nuts. You got choking, you got at middle of the night, the African-American staff bringing us out to wander through the woods as bait for the bears and things so we can shoot them. You got craziness going on left and right up there. Meanwhile, my parents are allowing this and paying for it and only seeing me 1 hour a month. So anyways, I come out of there, my father recoups his losses. He sues them for it, and he keeps the money as recouped losses. He moves me to Maine. Now, I got no education for those 18 months. My father has now sued them, and they had no teacher. Only for the first 3 months I was there, they had a teacher, and then she quit, and there was nobody. They only had some staff members that let us play Legos. Called it teaching class or something. That's what they probably told the parents. Anyways, you think my father decided I needed the education? I've now redone first grade. I've missed 18 months of education. He's now moved me to 3 different states, so they've had to reestablish what level I'm at. So it's really important that I catch up and get into school right away, right? No. My father decides to homeschool me in Maine so they can still have their vacations, so they can still try to make profit, and they can make their lives easier while making my life much, much harder for the rest of my life. I'm not talking about my life was made harder in that moment. My father made decisions that would affect the rest of my life. Crazy, crazy decisions, nuts decisions, really nuts decisions that have no concern for the welfare of his child. He definitely wanted to send me on a sinking ship. He was hoping my ship would sink before anybody found out what was done to me. He was hoping that he would die because of his old age, or I would end up sinking and going out of control or dying of suicide or something from what they did to me. But instead, I just kept on feeding into Jesus. I want to follow Jesus. I want to feed into religion. I want to help others. Instead of feeding into their nonsense, I fed into that and the following Jesus, and it did me a lot of good. Anyways, well, okay, so now we're in what, Maine? And when they're acting nuts because they're homeschooling me. Now, my mother had no ability to homeschool, and my father maybe just walked by here and there, and he actually did an okay job. But I don't think a couple hours replaces all the education I needed. Absolutely not. And my mother had no way of teaching at that grade. She can teach kindergarten like I can. I can teach kindergarten too. I could probably make it close to first grade. But once when you get to first grade, forget it. My mother could not teach past that. First grade maybe, but as the kids get older, no way. She did not able to do fractions with kids. The problem is that she didn't look at the lesson plan. She didn't understand what she was looking at. She would just come over and say, you need to know this. Read this and do this. Why isn't it done? I don't know if that's right or not. I also learned that I could actually just put an answer in the blank and she would let it go because she didn't check all the answers. She didn't know like the star constellations. She didn't know some of the more complex fractions. So a lot of the times if my answers were right or wrong, she didn't care because she didn't know. And she really, it was just do it, do it, do it was her way of teaching. Do it and get it right. Do it and get it right. That's not how you teach. That is complete nuts. Complete nuts. She even put me in a room a couple times with a bunch of books for hours and walked away. You just teach yourself. And that was a lot of what that was in Algonquin, teach yourself. My mother was not helpful at all. If anything, she made learning even harder. She didn't have the answers I needed. She didn't explain anything, and she didn't study the lesson plans enough to understand it herself. You first have to go through the lesson plan, figure out what you're teaching, understand it yourself, and then you can teach it to somebody younger than yourself. But if you don't understand what you're teaching, you can't teach it. And so that's completely nuts. My mother was acting completely nuts trying to be a teacher. She thought that she could do all these things that she can't. She thought that she could be a doctor, so she played around with medicines and me. Then she thought she could be a teacher, so she tried to just get everything and be a homeschool teacher. She tried all these crazy things that she was very clearly not capable of doing. She fucked each one up so bad that it caused a lifetime of harm to me. Okay, so now they move me again. We don't stay in Maine. We move now to Massachusetts. They buy a big house in Chelmsford. So now we restart my education again. We restart my life again. Completely nuts to be restarting this many times after something like an overdose, medications, coordination issue where I can't move my body, multiple moves to Texas and New Mexico. You got abuse in New Mexico and crazy stuff there. Then you go to Maine and you guys take a vacation. I'm falling down during fireworks and there's something wrong with my nervous system. But you think it's good to move again without any proper treatment. Now in Massachusetts, my mother starts really trying to get me drugged. She starts looking for doctors that will give her multiple prescriptions for everything. So she starts really going overboard with the fantasies. Everything that she wants to get. She even tried to get me to say I was schizophrenic when I wasn't. She tried to get me to lie for her. She tried to manipulate me and brainwashing me into thinking I am more crippled than I really am. Yes, my mother crippled me, but my mother also tried to brainwash me into thinking there was more stuff that there wasn't. This is so fucked up. She was acting nuts again. She's completely nuts, and my father's acting nuts and complicit in it again. Now, a lot of the doctors, I think, saw this and just didn't want to give her the meds. But by this time, they moved me so much, and my mother has blabbed about so many lies now on paper. that a couple doctors pick it up and start writing down what she's saying. So bipolar, everything. And of course it looks like that because I'm on uppers, downers, sidewaysers, twist arounders, Thorazine, Haldol, Lamictal. My nipples are leaking, milk. I just got abused. I've been on drugs. I can't feel my nervous system. I can't do anything. I'm trying to catch up in school. I was moved around. I have no friends. I need to make friends. And I try to make a friend, and my mother thinks I ran away and starts telling everybody I ran away when she gave me permission. First, my mother gives me permission to go see a new friend and get to know him, and then she goes around screaming and making up fantasies again. I mean, it's impossible to get anything done. I'm not an adult. I can't drive. I can't even move my legs properly. My legs are bumping into stuff. I'm bleeding. I'm trying to jump in the pools, getting my back foot cut open, and my mother's saying I'm self-harming to the point where it's fucking up my head. I mean, oh boy, my head was spinning as a kid. Oh boy, I mean, that's nuts stuff. Yeah, I mean, that's fucked up to do to a child. That's completely nuts. Luckily, I kept my sanity. I know right from wrong, and I'm sane. But after all that nuts shit went on, I need medical care. And when I tried to explain some of this shit, oh boy, they don't give me the time of day to explain it. And this is not something easy to explain. And of course, you got my father still feeding them bullshit. There's still people out there trying to hold on to my mother's fantasy for dear life. Because if this comes out, they would have to take responsibility for their actions, and they can't do that. No, my father and his new wife, realizing that this is real and what was done to me is wrong, oh, that's too much. It's too much to give me a call and try to fix your mistakes. No, it's better to hang on to a fantasy, continue harming me as much as possible, try to kill me off as fast as possible, so that way maybe they can die before I get help. And then as soon as my father's dead, my father's new wife can collect all the money, she can run away, and then guess what? I get to die with no witnesses. My father and mother are now dead, right? So now nobody cares that I'm crippled and that I don't have any medical files on it. Because my mother kept on trying to push and push and push and avoid responsibility for what she was doing to me. Now, at about 13 or 14 years old, she had to stop drugging me, but she continued to beat me with metal rulers. She'd throw shoot at my face. She almost hit my eye out. I'm not even kidding. The high heel missed my eyeball by an inch. I almost lost my eye because of this woman, and that's nothing. That doesn't even bother me. The shoe hitting me in the forehead, the abuse, the smacks in the car, the ruler and the face. I'm not kidding. She would use the sharp part of a metal ruler across my face one time. There's all this crazy shit. She hurt me several times, and that was nothing. It's the drugs that cause permanent damage. I mean, she gave me a full bottle of Epicac as a punishment. That's nuts stuff. She should have been in jail acting like that. And the family continued to allow it. They're continuing to allow my father to do this stuff to me today. I'm trying to get medical care. Nope. I give out their number. They make things worse. I'm dead. I'm so dead. These people killed me, and there's nothing I can do about it. Well, there is. I can continue. The best thing that I could do is actually have them take responsibility and talk to me. If my father actually took responsibility and maybe used some of that vacation money he loves so much on fixing his own issues, like fixing the stuff he did to other people, if he actually took responsibility in some way, talked to the church about and went through the full details of what he actually did, what his wife did, the damage he did, and how they hid it for multiple years, maybe came up with some plan to help, that probably would want to be one of my best options, because it doesn't look like this is going to happen overnight. I've been spending 12 years as an adult working on this, and a couple of it, I really took a break. That was from age 19 to 23. But from 23 to 31, I've devoted all my money, all my time to trying to fix this. And oh boy, is it hard. Especially with my father not wanting to fix his own issues. I have to fix somebody else's problem to fix my own problem. It's fucked up. I have to try to help somebody else take responsibility so I can get help. Because I can't take responsibility for something that was done to me. I can report what's being done, what was done to me, and that's it. But you need other witnesses and other people who are present, and those people can help the most too. My family could probably help me more than any agency out there. The people that can help me are doctors like neurologists if they actually do their jobs. But thanks to my mother and father, primary cares, neurologists, and emergency rooms are instantly given a lot of bullshit as soon as they type in my name. As soon as they type in my name, it basically says, don't listen to him, don't believe a word of what he says, he's mentally ill, here's a list of all his mental illnesses, don't listen to him ever. That's pretty much what my medical file says when it comes up. Oh boy, is it a bunch of bullshit. My mother made sure of that. So did my father. They spent 15 years and a shitload of money making sure that my mother would never get caught for what she was doing. But there are people who know about it. My brother, my sister, they know that there was a lot of drugs involved. They know my mother was acting unstable. They saw her act wicked unstable. They heard her admit to a crime and giving me extra medications as punishments. So they know a lot more. My father was witness to a lot of this stuff. And if I just said, hey, Dad, you were there when she gave me a full bottle of Epicac, do you think that's okay? Hey, Dad, I got an overdose and you were there when I crawled to a pile of newspapers and I was dying in front of you, and then I woke up with my nervous system never the same. Do you think that's okay? Because all you've done is go with my mother's mental illness more and more and feed into it more and more. You've not done a thing that I've wanted. I don't want ballet. I don't want to be drugged. I didn't want any of these things. I told you what I wanted and I was always denied. No, 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 no. That's what I got when it came to things I needed. Now, if I wanted toys or something like that, yeah, sure, you want a $20 toy, here you go. But it was something I desperately needed that would help me for the rest of my life, and it had something to do with my mother, absolutely not. And this is the problem. This is nuts. People do not want to take responsibility for their own actions, and that's why I'm dying. I'm willing to say that I got hepatitis because I was living in shelters and I was a drug addict at the time. That's most likely true. I'm also willing to say that I was homeless for two reasons. One, I was doing drugs and stole somebody's illegal drugs. I stole somebody's jewelry, and I was messed up about a lot of stuff. Like my father stole my inheritance, he stole my social security, he got me thrown out of my housing, and now I'm being forced to listen to him and his new wife have sex every day. And they'd have no care about what just went down for the last 15 years. And I'm still crippled, not getting medical care. I'm literally shaking, needing medical care downstairs while they have a good time upstairs, taking vacations, drinking every night. It's like two college kids. I'm not even kidding. When my mother was alive, it was like a psychotic, crazy person and a hard-working person. Then when my mother ended up dying, it became like two college kids all the time. It was crazy. I mean, my mother was a crazy person, but she wasn't no college kid. She was a drunk, crazy person who wanted to play doctor. She wanted to be a doctor, but she didn't have any of the skills to become one. There's no way that she could even be a nurse because she was way, way into pills and drugs. She was way into Percocets and pills. If you went through her closet, you would easily see that. She had very old prescriptions from me. She had old stuff from her. She had stuff that's expired. She had codeine. She had all different types of opiates. She had my Xanax, and those were disappearing. There was so many pills. Now, if I wasn't breaking the rules and sticking my nose where it doesn't belong, I wouldn't know this. But I know this because I knew my mother was doing a lot of crazy things. So I wanted to make sure I knew ahead of time what she was going to do to me next. She could have been taking the Xanax and drugging me with them too. I'm not sure why the Xanax was disappearing out of the bottle, but that was definitely her. Later, I ended up taking a handful as well. I say, hey, fuck, if my mother's going to take these meds from me, I might as well. This is where my mind fucked up. I thought that if my mother and father did something, then it was okay for me to do at that, within a certain level. Like if my mother is taking my Vicodin, then why shouldn't I be able to take their Perk 5? Shit like that. It fucked me up in the head. Now, luckily, I'm a different person today. I'm not like my mother and father. I like to first come out with all my responsibilities. I don't like anything. I don't like hiding from nothing. If you ask me a question about something embarrassing, I'll give you an honest answer. It might not be a good answer, but then I want to hear you try. Then I want to hear you try taking responsibility. I'll give you an answer that makes me look bad. I'll tell you exactly what I did and why. But then I want to hear something truthful from you. I want to hear some honesty from you. And that's the problem. I've had to switch that. I've tried that many times with people where I'll be 100% honest with them and I'll let them just belittle me. Then I'll say, it's your turn. I want to hear about this day, or I want to hear about this time, or I want to hear about why you don't have a job, or what happened, why you let me suffer dying on a pile of newspapers, or why you let your wife drink with her liver failing. Did you not care about her? What was that about? When you ask questions that are tough, people get mad. They love it when you answer the question truthfully, because then they can belittle you, twist words around. They get to have a fun game and point the finger at you.